is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Chillporeal. I'm Brian, your host, also known as Nerd or Nerdporeal from the Nerdporeal Continuum. Got a very special guest. It's been a while since I've had her on the channel, but we have the integral Star Trek fan herself, Antiderivative Jill. How are you? Thanks for being here.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited because I haven't been here since I helped to review the Orville episode Domino with you and Clobby, Mark D with the C, and that was
Domino. Was that the penultimate one, right? That was the one with the trench run.
Yeah, it was one of the best of I think of season 3, and it was like, okay, finally we're doing this.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. I just felt like the Kalon should have still been the enemy, but that's just me.
So. Yeah, well, the Kalon, yeah, they did do a flip, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a flip. Like all of a sudden, they had a weapon. All of a sudden, the Union had a super weapon that stemmed from Super Mario Galaxy 2, with the and it just blows up all the Kalon ships. I was just like,
and so
really?
I guess they're like, oh well, I guess we can't bother you guys anymore.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we demand you surrender. Okay, and then that was it. And that was it. And then the Kalon were all of a sudden the threat, the existential threat they wanted to wipe out all organic life. We're now the good guys. So
yeah, now they're coming to your wedding.
Yeah, then they're coming to your weddings, and having the fleet of ships is cute now. And I mean, it's better than Picard by season 3 by far. But I was like, this is not. I mean, I was expecting a Deep Space Nine type of deal.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying exactly. Yeah, even though I saw that they were friends, I'm like, that's nice, but they could turn on you at any moment. This is strange.
Yeah, and then but the real bad guys, the real villains of this show, were the ones that have different ideologies, not the ones that are totally different. Like, you know, not the non-organic, but the ones that have opposite ideologies. So, you know, so the Krill and the Mocklins. So, but yeah, that's been it's been a couple years since I talked about that. There were some really good episodes. I did ultimately enjoy the season. I know some people did not, but
I was in the middle. Because I love season 1 and 2.
Oh, season 2 was fantastic. Identity Part 1 and Part 2 that set up the Kalon in the first place as the bad guys, like the real threat, the existential threat, and then the way it ends in the alternate future where it's like watching Empire Strikes Back. Like they're in the Echo base, and all of a sudden the Kalon are there, and their heads detach, and then they start shooting people, and their heads fly around, and all that. That was ridiculous. That was awesome.
Yes, that was some good stuff. Where season 1 did a great job making somewhat of inspired by TNG. Season 2 had a bit of Star Wars in there. That was cool.
Yeah, and I liked how season 3 began. I liked the suicide one, the one that dealt with Isaac committing suicide, yes. Which I thought was
absolutely.
I thought it was
intriguing,
powerful.
And that one actually got me to make a short video about Isaac, and yeah, it was pretty good.
And then you had the one with the demons. The demon, they go into this realm.
Guys.
The demons, like they spit stuff at you, and all of a sudden you become one of them. Like your DNA is completely, radically rewritten and all that. And then it just ended. Like they had an admiral there who was in love with Claire, and then all of a sudden the admiral became one of them, and then they flew off, and that was it. I was like,
right, the admiral used to be her professor or something, and they used to have a thing, and then he turned into a spider monster, and
yeah, so I'm getting in trouble. Stone Racket here says I don't speak Orville.
Oh, hi, Stone Racket, good to see you.
Yeah, Stone Racket wants us to talk Trek. So
well, yes, but that's the thing. That's the thing is that our modern Trek is the Orville right now.
Yeah,
I get it. We'll talk about Star Trek.
Do you think they're going to make another, just to kind of wrap this up, I think they're done with the Orville. The fact that we haven't heard any news for almost it's gonna be
I
it's
don't
gonna be
know.
2
I've
years
been
now.
hearing some rumors that I'm susceptible to these kind of things, and I like to hear that there's hope. And I've heard a little bit of hints.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's done personally. And I mean, if it comes back, okay. If it doesn't, I don't know. I just I don't know, the way it ended, it felt like a series finale. So
It they did end it in such a way as if that was the end, it works.
it's like so I got a question for you. I
Sure.
forget how we first interacted. Was it like Doomcock or something? On his stream?
Oh, yeah, you know what? I think our first interactions were in somebody's chat. Whose chat?
And I think I've been
Sure.
making that integral joke for the longest time.
You have. And no, that was good. That intro was awesome. I didn't realize you make special intros for your guests, and that was awesome. That was really great.
Well, what's funny is all of my Chillporeals begin with Gary Mitchell trying to stick his head into the force field, and then it's all and I do it in the production order. So I show a clip from Where No Man's Gone Before, then a clip of Corbites and all that, and then
Nice.
you have
Production
Harry
order.
Mudd
Good
looking
man.
at the title of the guest. So that yeah, and then you have Crazy Kirk, going nuts, and then it's all the wacky stuff. So I've
Yeah, so
modified
you
it.
had it ready to go. That's good.
Yeah, so I basically
for me.
reused that, and then when I talk about the guests, and I add stuff or I change stuff usually. So like the stuff with like Balance of Terror and all that was stuff I added for this particular intro. Usually, I will put in what I'm going to be talking about with the guests. Whatever's in that guest wheelhouse. That's basically what Chillporeal is, and wherever this discussion goes, kind of like Joe Rogan, but like as Zach says, Joe Rogan, but with Star Trek. So,
Nice. Yeah. And then, well, no, Nerdporeal Lifeform just dropped out of the stream. I imagine that he will return shortly, but I wanted to add that I also enjoyed that his intro ends with.
I accidentally bumped my mouse and I knocked myself out of here. So,
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I said, "Give me the brandy." Yeah, yeah. That episode was wild. Enemy Within. I rented that one on tape on VHS from the video store, and I was surprised how violent it got. Like I was towards Yeoman Rand. Like I did not see that
Right.
coming at all. So
And that was dark. That was right, because that was the dark side of Kirk. That was the evil side of him that was split by the transporter accident.
yep,
And
that's
so
correct.
Kirk is not behaving as himself. He's not the same without his two halves together. And so yeah, that's one of my A episodes. I went to go find all of my A episodes but it turns out that doesn't narrow it down enough for me, because I have 36 episodes that I give an A out of the 79.
36. Okay. I know I wanted to do a ranking with you, but you're going to be doing your own rankings. So I decided not to. I mean, we could talk about our favorite episodes.
Yes.
But even
And so
before.
I have all of my A episodes. I'm not going to tell you. I don't even have my order yet. But
okay.
Yeah, I can't name them all. But Enemy Within is definitely one of them. And that's interesting that it spoke to you that much.
Enemy Within is probably the one episode I learned the most. And I've never been in the military, but it's the one episode I learned quite a bit about the nature of command and how the captain is expected to behave. That whole spiel from Spock, saying you cannot tell the whole truth to the crew. You don't have the right to look anything less than perfect, because if you do, you lose command, or you lose control, and they lose you. I forget how it goes exactly, but he loses command basically, and that really opened my eyes to in the nature of being a leader and all that. So, and then you see, I hate to go back into New Trek, but New Trek completely violates this, because even a show like Strange New Worlds, which is an improvement to Discovery, it's still like a freaking college internship in space with parties. It's like college internships but in space.
Yeah, basically it's like a soap opera, but it's not really. And you're like, where's the science fiction?
Where's the
And
military aspect? I mean, it's
yeah,
still
the
a
military
military.
aspect isn't there. There's no
You're
respect for the captain. You have crew members talking over or undermining him quite often. Captain Pike.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you talk. I mean, like this is military. This is military. I mean, the people that created the original Star Trek, Roddenberry, Kuhn, all those guys served in World War II, and I mean, they got their ideas from their own experiences serving. Some of them were in the Navy.
Yes,
I
that
know,
was the whole basis really for Star Trek, is that Roddenberry wants this to be like a naval vessel. And what are the protocols for that? Are you hugging, making out on the bridge? No. And so things you don't do on a naval vessel, he didn't want done on a starship, like smoking.
yeah, and there's one episode where a little girl's made of the infamous one with the stalactite that's shaped like a phallus, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
So apparently they had to strip Kirk down, so he was shirtless.
Mommy, why did it
And
get rabbit?
got the youngsters there. So, but the stalactite, I mean, like that same episode, they shaved Shatner down because Roddenberry thought that people in the future were hairless. I couldn't believe, I didn't believe it was true until I read about it. Like, really, he felt that way?
Well, I guess that carried over into TNG because I just reviewed Justice on my 100 subscriber stream, and yeah, nobody had hair, seemed to have body hair in that episode either.
Oh, Justice, the episode with the Edo god or the I forgot what.
Yeah. It's
and,
not that
and Wesley Crusher. Wesley Crusher is going to be put to death by these people on this planet because he tripped on a garden. He literally tripped on a garden wall and broke some protective glass and maybe killed a few plants. They're like, oh no, it's and they do it like it's nothing. Hey, we're just gonna kill him, you know. And they're like, what? Whoa, we're not gonna. We can't allow that.
Well, and they're offended because look, now Wesley's scared. He wasn't scared before. We were just going to kill him, and he was going to be fine with it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's just it's wild that I mean now people the way they see Will Wheaton behave, they're like maybe they should have just left him. They should have just left him there on the planet. Oh,
it would have saved a lot of time.
Probably would have. But I got a question for you. How did you get into Star Trek? Now, I grew up in the 90s. Star Trek was everywhere. TNG was on. Generations came out. Even as a 9-year-old, I saw the height of Trek. Even I still wasn't into it. I thought it was just boring adult stuff because I was a kid that was into Nintendo games and cartoons and, well, at that time, Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, when I was very small, I was into the Power Rangers as well. And yeah, you're a more cultured man than I am. I didn't get, or well, whatever, because I didn't really get into Star Trek until I turned 19 years old. I was in college and I was doing my homework, trying to procrastinate. CBS.com had all of these old episodes, and I started with MacGyver, and I was like, that's cute. And then I looked, oh look, Star Trek. Let's try this, and because I'd heard, obviously I heard of it before, but I never gave it the time of day really. And that's where I was hooked. And I procrastinated a lot to watch all of it. And then I couldn't get enough after TOS, so I went on to everything else. And this was 2008.
Okay, 2008. That makes sense. Yes, I got into it when I was so right at the beginning of adolescence. So as a kid, I was into. I mean, I still like retro Nintendo stuff. Not so much into the newer stuff, just because I'm older, don't have time for that. So, but I was into that stuff. But then as I got into adolescence, you know, I have always had a hard time making friends. I was a bit of a loner in school. I mean, I was a big kid. I was a big kid. So you tried to physically bully me. Don't try it. So but I didn't have friends. I got into a lot of, you know, spats with people. Not that I wanted to. I mean, I'll say this about myself. I wanted people to. I wanted to get along with people. I didn't want to, you know, you have these issues, and then all of a sudden I just something about being an 11-year-old at that time just helped me. I saw like I went to the Suncoast Video store, and they had a whole shelf of Star Wars, newly issued Star Wars movies, the original trilogy, the way it originally was. So I see the movies. My dad ran Return of the Jedi, and so a few weeks before that, so I got interested in seeing the other movies, and I was like, I never really fully. I did see Empire Strikes Back when I was real young on TV, but I barely remembered it. So I asked my folks to buy me Empire Strikes Back. So I was lucky to get the tape, and then I watched that, and I was like, oh, I want to see the original Star Wars again. So I watched the original Star Wars, and then I eventually bought all the movies. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm out of Star Wars movies. And so I go to an FYI, another type of video store that was selling, videotapes, VHSs, and I saw the Star Trek movies. And the thing that blew my mind was looking at the back. I was like, because I was looking for I saw Star Trek V a long time ago. It was on cable TV. It was on cable. So TNG. So I thought Star Trek I thought main Star Trek was TNG. But then I saw Star Trek V. I was like, why is this Star Trek 2? And my folks were like, well, this is the original Star Trek. This is the original people. I was like, what? I don't know. What do you mean? And so I didn't figure out for years, but I liked the pointed ear guy. I liked the pointed ear guy, and I liked the grouchy guy. And I liked how the other guy, the other guy that the pointed ear guy called Captain, had to deal with the two of them. And I thought it was a whimsical, it was a cartoony movie. Maybe that's why I liked it as a kid. But I don't know. I remembered that. And so I was looking at the Star Trek tapes, and I was like, okay, which one is it? Then I was reading about the Wrath of Khan. I was like, okay, Wrath of Khan. I'm like, okay, I've never seen this. Then I looked at the next one, The Search for Spock. I'm like, why is this called The Search for Spock? And I look at the synopsis in the back. I'm like, Spock dies.
Well, you got the spoiler.
Yeah, so what intrigued me initially about Star Trek was the fact that a main character died, and that it was Mr. Spock. And then I read up on the other movies, and I was like, I want to rent. We didn't buy it at the time, but we went. I think the week later, we went to the video store, and I rented The Wrath of Khan, and I watched it, and I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea how Star Trek was. I might have seen a few of the original episodes. What's funny was I didn't realize it, but I did see Space Seed before that. Because it was on TV once. Good. There was an episode where they bring a guy out of hibernation. They treat him, they welcome him, and then he becomes the bad guy and takes over the ship. I was like, okay.
Yeah, they don't just welcome him. They're like, here's our entire library computer. Please read all of it.
Yes. So, speaking of Khan and Space Seed, I actually had an idea to introduce the stream today, but I didn't really, because I didn't get any sleep. I didn't really feel like it. And since you haven't been on the channel for a while, I didn't want to kind of, have you be part of a joke of an intro. So I was going to try and do my Khan impression, and then I would be like, and then I'd be like, I never forget an avatar. And then I bring you on, and I'm like, anti-derivative. You'd be instead of Check, I'd be anti-derivative Jill. And then you'd be like, nerd, what are you talking about? I'm like, you didn't expect to find me. You thought this was Chillporeal Alpha 5. Why are you here? Like, you invited me. Snap out of it, nerd. And then I do my normal intro. I'm like, oh, hey, and I'd be like, what happened? So, but I didn't feel like doing that today. So, but yeah, so like going back, I saw the movies, and what really hit me was that they were in Star Trek 3. The Kirk and McCoy and the rest of them were willing to go back for Spock, and that spoke to me as someone who was a bit of a loner. That it gave me hope that that there were good people out there.
Right, loyalty and friendship is a big theme in Star Trek in general. Yeah,
and I think that was what really cemented me and got me more interested. And so I watched the rest of the movies. Because this was 96, so I watched everything up to Generations, and then First Contact came out. So I watched Generations and First Contact before I watched TNG. So I see the movies, and
Mhm.
One of the, I think we for my birthday I got Star Trek 4 on VHS, and it came with a little piece, a little card in the box, and it had a list of all, or not a card, but like a little flyer, one of those little mini flyers, and it had all the episodes of the original series. It's like, oh, this is also available on VHS. And my dad, I showed it to my dad. My dad's like, I remember this episode, I remember that episode. I remember there was an episode where Kirk fights Spock. And all of a sudden I just got really excited. I wanted to see the episode where, they first meet Khan. And then there was a wacky episode called, there was an episode called Spock's Brain. I was like, oh, I want to get that one too. So I got, first two episodes I ever owned was Space Seed and Spock's Brain. Yeah, I know. It's one of the best and one of, well, what's widely considered to be the worst. But
So
I don't think it's the worst.
I don't think it's the worst either. I think it's just one of the most memorable of the worst. It's a lot of fun despite being really bad. And so people remember brain and brain. What is brain? But you don't remember something boring like, Mark Gideon, where
Mark and Gideon didn't even really pay off. Like they didn't really find a solution to the problem that was the reason why Kirk was kidnapped in the first place. They simply removed the virus from Odona, and then they just left. And with their because that was the overpopulation episode. That was the episode where how many times has that type of episode been employed in the franchise? Like where the captain or somebody gets abducted and they're taken to like a replica of the ship or something. They're alone or something. Or I swear it's been done in other shows.
Yeah, I'm sure it has, but this was the weirdest way because overpopulation is a cool concept, but the way they explain it is so wacky because they have everybody stuffed on the planet like sardines. Like you literally can't move at all, and I don't think that's realistic.
It is not realistic because they'd all get sick. I mean, it's if you learn about the Holocaust in World War II, like people, because how crammed tight they were in these camps, they got sick. They got there was so much disease going around because of that. So, Stone Racket, you're absolutely correct. That's what happens when you. That's what happens. That's what happens when you're a kid and getting into this. You're like, okay, where do I start? And everything. I'll say this. I always tell people to start with the original series. And I tell people watch in production order. So I've been telling like Pops, for instance, a great YouTuber. He started doing like episode reviews. I have the entire production order of the original series memorized. I think there was one Chillporeal where I completely nerded out and recited all the episodes in backwards order.
Backwards order? That's crazy. Oh, that's awesome. Well done.
Well, you want to know why? Because of that card that I had, that little flyer that had all the episodes on there that I was able to find out and all that. That's why. I looked at that. I must have like studied it or something. I don't know why. But that's basically what it is. Oh yeah, I have I need to forget. I have a super chat from DJ Ronnie G for $2. Member of the Nerdporeal Continuum. Consider joining the Nerdporeal Continuum because you never know. You might become a bigger nerd. My friend Prophet, he has better relationship with his kids as a result. And if you're bald, it'll grow your hair back. It just doesn't work on me, the host. So. But yeah, thank you, DJ Ronnie G, for the $2. So
hi, DJ Ronnie G.
So I got what was I going to ask? I was like, what was the first thing you? So you said you watched all of it. You started with the original series on CBS. Okay.
When I was actually paying attention to it, this is true.
So did you watch all the shows in order? I'm curious. Did you watch like TNG after that, and then DS9?
No.
Did you watch chronologically?
Yes,
how'd you do it?
I watched the animated series.
Oh, the animated series.
Mm-hmm. And then I went on to TNG, and I did it all in kind of order, but not like real order. TNG, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, then Voyager, and then Enterprise.
Okay, all right. I actually did once watch Deep Space Nine and Voyager back to back. So Voyager, so Deep Space Nine, I did not watch as it was on TV because it came out before I got into it, and then by the time it was already well into like season 5, I think. It was well into season 5 when I started getting interested in the 24th century shows. So the first time I ever saw Defiant was actually in Star Trek First Contact. And I was like, I had no idea why Worf was there, but I just kind of, I just figured, it's who knows? It's a
They
movie.
wanted Worf. Let it go. Well, even when you know the history, you're still like, okay, there's Worf, but where's everybody else? Why isn't Kira there?
Yeah, why isn't well, Chief O'Brien, he was actually, I'm surprised Chief O'Brien was never in any, he wasn't in Picard. Like I actually thought he was going to be in Picard season 3. But he wasn't in Picard, and he wasn't in any of the TNG films. So the last time we see him as Chief O'Brien in TNG was All Good Things, and then the last time I think he ever played the character was in the finale for DS9, What You Leave Behind. So
right. Well, in any case, yeah, I know we were saving that for later, but I don't think that Terry really understands the television shows. I think he's mostly a fan of the movies, and he wanted to fix First Contact, and that's Picard season 3. And he just threw in some things that he sort of remembered kind of from Deep Space Nine, and he got a lot of it very wrong.
And was that your main issue with that? Because I mean, I still get into debates with people about that. Mm-hmm. You never know. It's like with the shapeshifters in Picard. All of a sudden, you never know where you're going to find a fan of Picard season 3. Like, you never know who it's going to be amongst the people here. But I don't know. I think
I respect people's opinions, but I don't agree.
I know, but I'm trying to turn this into a conspiracy, like the way Picard season 3 was, with the shapeshifters being everywhere, even though even that didn't really pay off. Like, they just they were the lackeys for the Borg Queen, and then they were just caught at the end because of technology that Beverly Crusher just magically came up with. So.
Well, a lot of it is magic, and it is that the changelings, even though they hate humans, they mostly only seem to transform into humans. You know how Odo would become a cup or a dog or whatever. Yeah. These changelings were just human most of the time, and they had to stay in that shape because they had degraded themselves and made themselves less immortal.
Yeah, they completely they didn't even explain it. Like, if they would have explained it better. I mean, yes, we know that they got tested on or something, and
right, and also,
they were supposed to be even better than the old shapeshifters.
They're not better though. They were worse because they were not going to live as long as a normal changeling, and they can't change as often as a normal changeling. So how is that better? I don't remember them actually explaining.
It was better because when, remember the blood test in Deep Space Nine? You take the blood, and then it becomes the brown gel that whatever, that's what the founders are.
And this was the result of the experiments.
Yeah, so the blood stays the blood. That was the improvement.
But that was my problem with this series, is that they made Starfleet and the Federation evil. And
we barely saw them. We see Admiral. We see Admiral Shelby. Remember Shelby from? I'm talking to Chad, if whoever's listening. Remember Admiral? Remember Commander Shelby from Best of Both Worlds?
Yeah, she wanted to be the new first officer.
Yeah, she was supposed to be the new Riker, and with her there and Picard gone and all that, the whole thing was Riker. It was like, is Picard gonna die? That was basically what and then they ended up with part 1, and Picard becomes a Borg, which I'm sure nobody saw coming. And then is Patrick Stewart going to be leaving the show? And everybody was stewing on that for the whole summer. And I wasn't a fan then. I can only imagine, summer of 1990, being an adolescent or being an adult watching this and being like, it's almost as bad as Who Shot JR, if you ever heard of Dynasty. I've never watched Dynasty myself. And the reason why I know about that is because of The Simpsons. Who shot Mr. Burns? But based on the history of television, that was like one of the biggest cliffhangers of all time. So, Best of the Both Worlds was in that same camp. And the problem is, Best of Both Worlds is so popular that every season of Picard had to incorporate it in some way. I think third season did it the best. I think third season's still the best of New Trek, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with that, because it's just that bad. But there's so many. I mean, there's so many inconsistencies. There's still so many problems. It's still more in line with New Trek than original Trek. Like anything, 1966, 2005. The 735 is, as our friends Clobby and Raquel call it.
Right, exactly. And I think it Star Trek Picard season 3 does a better job of hiding the fact that it backs up a lot of New Trek, but it does still do that. And one of the most annoying things about that Admiral Shelby speech, when she was like talking about the creation of the NX-01 Enterprise, and think it's like, you know, they don't understand the difference between Starfleet and the Federation, because she says the NX-01 leads to the birth of Starfleet, but Starfleet already existed when the NX-01 was created. She meant to say the birth of the Federation, because that's what happens after Enterprise.
And it's so baffling, because you know who worked on Enterprise? Terry Matalas. He wrote. He wrote 2 episodes. He wrote the episode with the Vulcan zombies in season 3, and he wrote the episode where they had to use deception to capture the Xindi weapon specialist Dagra. And it was actually a really good episode. Like they created this whole simulation, and they captured the guy, and Archer is, you know, pretending to be a fellow prisoner. They're pretending to be on a shuttle trying to escape the Xindi or something, or somebody. And I thought it was really well done. So that's kind of why I went into season 3 expecting something good. I mean, I wasn't expecting to be as good, but I didn't think it was going to be as inconsistent and as like not really paying off. I mean, there were certain things that did pay off, and the thing I think that everybody liked was that they brought Data back.
Well, but what they did with Data, though, was kind of strange. They merged him with Lore. And okay, so you're going to take a psychopath and merge him with the gentlest android ever. What is the point with?
I guess to make him human. I don't know, because like I thought he
was already. They had already said that his biology, his android, he wasn't even an android anymore. He was kind of like more like a replicant.
Like and Picard, yeah. I think he had.
That's another big problem I have with Picard season 3 is that the androids, they're practically human. The Borg, you don't see any. You don't get the Borgified technology anymore. You can turn Starfleet officers into Borg, but they don't look like Borg. It's because it's inside their body. You can't see it. And the changelings, they just change into humans. And you know what? I bet that was good on the budget.
Yeah, I mean they didn't. There was no outdoor location shots. Like it was either you were either on the ships, or there was like they had a Borg set obviously for that. There was the Shrike. There's the Shrike set, and the way they destroyed the Shrike, I wasn't even want to point this out. My friend Prophet the Dragon, who's not even a Star Trek fan, is like, why is there nobody on that ship? Why is there nobody on that ship defending it? They just shoot it. They just destroy it.
You see this captain of the Shrike. Oh man, I kind of push this show out of my brain, but she doesn't treat them very well. She shoots them. There's this one rule with changelings in Deep Space Nine that this season 3 violates, is that changelings hate everybody else, but they will not harm another changeling.
It's basically the planet. It's basically the Planet of the Apes. Same idea as Planet of the Apes. You know, ape shall not kill ape. Founder shall not kill founder. Basically, that's why even when Odo betrays them, they still don't take any action against him. They still welcome him back. I mean, the only time that they got really pissed off at him, and like you said, was the Adversary, and that was an episode that I had to bring up, when we were doing our reviews for Picard, because it violated what that show started, or what that show set up and everything. So like Ambassador Krajewski, like they're not easy to kill, and they can just kill you. Their arms can turn into tentacles and just you're dead. That's what made them terrifying. That's what made
Yeah,
it. That's what
exactly.
made the
And so we didn't have much of that in this season either.
no. But going, I was trying to. What point was I trying to make? I kind of went off a little bit.
Well, I go off when I talk about this show because some of it is so bad. You're talking about the destruction of the Shrike. It was dull, and it was a showing of how Captain Shaw is an incompetent captain. He's just not really that good either. And I know he's somebody that a lot of people like, and I just don't. It's like the captain doesn't even really care about his ship because he's just given up, and people.
Yeah, so he was never on the bridge.
He relinquishes the bridge, and he never once stands up for anybody.
Yeah, I mean that was the big issue when they had that Negan moment. If you're familiar with The Walking Dead, they had that Negan moment where everybody was lined up and they did somebody got killed, an execution, and it was 7 of 9 that stepped up instead of the captain. The captain's like, I can't do anything. I was just like, you're a freaking captain, dude. Not everybody can be a captain. You have to be exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
So yeah, so that was something that rubbed me the wrong way, and then the whole idea that the shapeshifters are lackeys of the Borg Queen, and that Borg cube, which is as big as a Death Star, but there were only like three drones in that entire thing.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, okay, whatever. If you liked Picard season 3, whoever's listening, more power to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't take any. I can't take away your joy if it brings you joy, but it doesn't for me.
Yeah, I mean, remember, you know that awesome knife fight where Raffi was slaying shapeshifters with a blade.
Oh,
remember that?
Remember
that? I'm like we're watching this and we're like,
that doesn't track.
Yeah, and the whole idea that the shapeshifters were even using energy weapons in the beginning of the episode, or in the beginning of the season, just to maintain that it's a mystery, just to maintain the whole mystery box thing where they withhold information about about where the story's going to go, or who these characters are.
Remind me of the stupid red door. Oh God.
The red door. But like they were trying to kill Beverly Crusher with blaster weapons, and then the like phaser rifles that were that they pumped for some reason. That was another weird thing.
Well, and Crusher had this rifle that would tell you whenever she was out of power, whenever it was out of power, so that the enemies will know when her weapon's no longer working.
Yeah. So, yeah, and so they kind of like they could have just like if they were real shapeshifters, they could have just turned into goo, traveled the floor, materialized behind Beverly, and then kill her without energy weapons. They would have been that easy. But no, we had to have a firefight. We had to have a reason. We had to have a reason why they did that, and it wasn't even. I mean, I rewatched the show, and I couldn't find a reason why that was.
I don't know why either. And you're right. The shapeshifters don't behave like them, like as they should. And just one very simple thing is that for some reason the writers think they all sleep in buckets. That was just Odo.
No, they don't. That's the thing. Odo was the one that slept in a bucket because that's the only way. He didn't know he could do all that stuff. He didn't know he could do that. So he just once he met the other shapeshifters, he started. His quarters completely changed. It wasn't just a bucket. It was like poles and things that allowed him to turn into other creatures and all that. Exactly. So the bucket was discarded, and all of a sudden we're getting the bucket again.
Well, he kept it to put a plant that Kira gave him a plant, so it was a plant holder now. Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, like the intruders on the Titan A have those things, and I had to think about that. I was like, No way. How would they get that wrong? Like, I mean, like there's so much show to like. This should be easy. This should
We
be
could
easy to
spend
get
an
right.
entire rest of this entire live stream talking about everything this show
Sorry.
got wrong. Even just
Yeah.
simple little things when they were showing the evil Section 31 compound that Starfleet gave them that used to be a Daystrom Institute because now Starfleet's evil. But
It was
they
a
just have this
Zelda.
push cart.
It was a Zelda dungeon, literally.
It was
Jonathan Frakes whistles, Pop Goes the Weasel, and all of a sudden the door opens. I was expecting to hear the Zelda jingle, you know, and then they go in, they find Data. They go in there and they find Data, and then da 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 da, you know. Yeah.
But it's just it's funny and then it's not funny when you see that they just put Captain Kirk's bones on display. That is probably the most disgusting thing.
Yeah, and I remember like, hey, remember somebody. Actually, what's funny was somebody who another channel, Pop. I don't know if you've heard of the Pop Brothers, or I think they're called the Pop Brothers. They're a relatively big channel. They brought up. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Shatnerverse. So Shatner wrote some of his own Star Trek books where he kind of brings Kirk back to life after generations. I don't know if you've heard of those.
Yes,
They came out in the 90s. They came out in late 90s.
I haven't read them, but I've heard of them. Yes.
Okay.
And he wanted to be brought back to life. He wanted that to actually be the next movie.
Yeah,
it's
a shame that they didn't. It's a shame that they didn't do it because there was a really good. They showed a scene, or somebody made a scene
after Generations. I meant.
Yeah, so somebody made a fan. So a fan made a thing where Spock goes to Viridian 3 and visits and pays his respects to the to the pile of rocks that Picard did for Kirk and all that. So it was a beautiful thing, but it made me think of because I think the first or second chapter of The Return, which is the second book in the Shatnerverse. So the first book in the Shatnerverse, called Ashes of Eden, that takes place shortly after Star Trek 6, but before the beginning of Star Trek Generations, where they encounter the Nexus.
Right.
So it establishes that Kirk meets a woman. Her name is Talani or something. I forget if she's human or something. And then. Yeah, so that was that book, and then Return skips, to beyond, Kirk's death, and then he gets brought back to life by Borg and Romulan technology. Apparently, the Romulans and the Borg have a pact or something,
What?
and then he comes back. They bring him back to life, and he's brainwashed. I think he's supposed to assassinate Picard or something, or assassinate one of the TNG people.
Every time I hear this.
Yeah, and so I think he runs into, I think the woman that he was in love with, I think she somehow turns out to be alive. I forget, and I think he snaps out of his brainwashing thing. I think the Romulans brainwashed him or something. And then that was the second book. Then there was a third book called Avenger. And Avenger was an interesting beginning because they incorporated the first chapter, or maybe it was the prologue. You've seen Conscience of the King, right? Of course you have.
Course.
Original series with Anton Karidian or Kodos the Executioner, not Kodos from The Simpsons. No, the Kodos from Star Trek. The one that killed one that selected half the population to be put to death quickly because of a shortage of food on Tarsus 4 or something like that. And Kirk was one of the last living.
He had to make decisions, and he let the power get to him, and he started deciding who lived and who died.
Yeah, and Kirk as a 13-year-old witnessed this firsthand, I believe. So he's running from like the authorities. Like he's running from the authorities, but he gets rescued. So you kind of wonder okay, he witnesses this. So how did Kirk survive without being put to death himself? And apparently Sarek rescued him.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't remember
really?
why Sarek rescued him, but Sarek just happened to be there, and
Well,
Sarek
this
and
wasn't in Conscious of the King. This was in the novel that you're talking about.
this is in the
Okay, this is
novel.
fleshing out. This is fleshing out the moment.
And Sarek basically
Kirk
takes Kirk under his wing and gets him off the planet. Like I forget he negotiates with Kodos and everything. So I think he's like, "Hey, we're bringing the food" or something like that. And Kodos is like, "It's too late. You guys were way too late and everything." So yeah, but yeah, that was. And then there was like a virus that was going around, and that had something to do with that the same virus that is taken that is the main plot thread for the movie was the same thing that killed the food in Tarsus 4, basically. So that's why they opened with that. So
Yeah.
it was an interesting one. It was an interesting one. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting. I think I put Conscious of the King in B range because I don't remember why, but Kodos he definitely shouldn't have decided who was living and dying. I know that people can decide if they wanted to starve or if they wanted to die some other way. They should have had the freedom of that choice because that was the last freedom that they were given, and he took that away from them. And he turned it into a big eugenics program instead.
Yeah, so that was like that was a very powerful. Conscious of the King was a very powerful episode. That scene where we first meet Caridian. So Caridian's only like 3 scenes in the entire episode. Like he's missing from most of it. You see him in the very beginning when they're performing Macbeth, and then we don't see him again until the scene where Kirk confronts him on the ship, and Kirk literally says like, if you forget, he says you may not leave this room alive or something like that. And he gives him the speech and he reads the speech and he's like, he barely looked at the words, and the Korean's like, I learned very quickly, I'm an actor. So it looked like I liked the performance of, what was his name, Arnold Moss, I think was the guest that played Caridian. I thought that like the fact that you could, just from his facial expressions, you could tell that he was tortured. Like the first thing that Kirk says to him is, "Are you Kodos?" And he squints. He squints like this, and then he starts his little performance and all that. And I don't know about you, I really enjoyed that scene.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, that was a good scene.
Did you? So how was Conscious of the King ranked on your? Was it another A or was it lower?
It was a B range for me. Although that scene is incredible and the actor in it is really great.
What do you think of Lenore Caridian just offing people the way she did? I liked one of my favorite suspenseful, it's one of my favorite suspenseful moments in the original series was when they were scrambling to find the phaser on Overload. Like they're going through all of Kirk's books, they're going through all of his stuff, and then Spock, he's like, "Get out of here, Spock! Alert the crew!" And then everybody's moving around really quickly, and you hear the music. It sounded like something out of Star Wars, and yeah. That was one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite moments right there, and yeah, you hear the musical tune. I think it was Conscious of the King. I forget, it was Mullendor. I think it was Mullendor that did the soundtrack for that episode, and they didn't really use much of it outside that episode, but they did reuse that particular track for Return of the Archons, the beginning of Return of the Archons. I would know this stuff.
You would. So. Yeah, that's well done. I don't remember who does the music for this. I just remember it was a sad ending for Lenore. She kind of, it was tragic. She went away kind of just, at least she believed her dad was still okay.
Yeah, so she basically finds out. So I forget. I don't think the show episode explains how she finds out, but she finds out that he's Kodos. Yeah. And so she basically, every time, there were 9 living witnesses, she had them all off. So Kirk and Riley were the last ones. So they tried to kill Riley. The Riley one was like, whoa, like you hear Uhura singing Beyond Antares, and then while she's singing, somebody sneaks, takes a little a spray, and sprays something into his milk, and then you just he's like, he can't talk. He's like, help! And then luckily, had he not had the intercom on, he would have died. He would have been gone. Lenore would have killed him.
Oh, yes, that's right. But
And
oh,
no, sorry, finish your thought.
well, and also this episode has a line in Free Enterprise. I don't know if you've seen Free Enterprise.
I haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen parts of it. Robert Meyer Burnett's movie.
Yeah, it's Robert Meyer Burnett's movie. It's very, very good. You should watch it. There's one part where William Shatner uses a line that fails to get the lady, and this is the one. He uses the one from this one. Worlds may change, galaxies disintegrate, but a woman always remains a woman.
Yeah.
And that one doesn't work. And then
and then I like how she all of a sudden comes on board, and poor Grace Lee Whitney. That was like her last scene or something that she did. She just simply walks in, looks at Lenore, and walks into the turbolift, and that's the last we see of her for the original series. She didn't have a line in the episode.
Yeah, we don't see her again till the movies.
Yeah, it's a motion picture. So and the next time you see her, she's like, I think the next line I think the only line she says in the motion picture is, "They're forming." And then all of a sudden, Commander Sonak, the new Vulcan science officer, and his whoever else just
they don't make
it. It was a terrifying scene. Like there was some horror in those. The first episode of Star Trek, The Man Trap, is a slasher. So there's horror in Star Trek. Like there used to be
that was a
horror and sci-fi were like this. Like Forbidden Planet. Forbidden Planet, there was horror in that.
and that's why that's why the broadcast order does put Man Trap first, because it matched what they saw from most sci-fi. They're like, oh, you have a monster of the week, this is what we're supposed to have, this is what we're going to play. So that's how that happened. And DJ Ronnie G says, fortunately.
Well, we got back, did not live long, fortunately.
Yep.
Yeah, some stellar Oscar-worthy delivery.
Right, even
there.
though she didn't say much, Grace Lee Whitney did do some good acting of being horrified in that scene. And
yes,
Kirk was able to tell her it wasn't your fault.
It wasn't your fault, Rand. It wasn't your fault. So, yeah, and then Wrath of Khan had some horror too. Mm-hmm. Like the whole they incorporated body horror eels with these SETI eels, and you've seen it go in the air, and then you see it come out of the air, and there's blood coming out of the air. You're like, oh, dang it! But that wasn't really.
And then it happens later where one of the officers was controlled, and he's going to kill Captain Kirk, but instead of killing him, he kills himself, and so that's horrific too.
Yeah, and there's the scene where they enter Regula 1. They enter Regula 1, and it's silent. It's creepy. You hear, and like you like they're in the corridors. It's quiet. McCoy is walking. He sees a rat, and he turns around, and all of a sudden he backs in. Oh, there's a body hanging. And then you get that music. There's a jump scare. There was a jump scare in Wrath of Khan. But then because they're professionals, they didn't scream. They just, and then
they just reacted. Yes,
they just reacted and went to work.
Exactly. And so because if they overreacted too much, they would put themselves and other people in danger.
The only other, there was the zombie Vulcan episode of Enterprise. Voyager, Microcosm or Macrocosm, I think could be considered a horror with the virus that was from season 3. I don't know if you remember that one. That's one where Janeway is wearing like a tank top and she's everyone got hit. Action Hero Janeway and all that. That was actually one of the earliest Voyager episodes I've ever seen. And this was the third season was 96 to 97. And believe it or not, that was the season where I actually got interested in the Voyager. So I was already collecting the original series. TNG was on sometimes. I watched some episodes of that, but Voyager was on every Wednesday night
I
as
didn't
it was
really
airing.
like that episode that much.
You didn't like
But
the
it didn't I didn't like Action Hero Jane.
you didn't like Action Hero Janeway. But I think I'm trying to think of another Voyager episode that was also a horror. I mean, the episode Night, I guess, could be considered a horror because they're in the void. They're in the void in the beginning of season 5, and then there's no it's all darkness like outside. And then I think somehow all the power went off in the ship, but yet the Captain Proton simulation was working. So I forget. But Deep Space Nine had a horror episode. It's called Mpox Minor. You remember that one?
Oh, right, where they were on another space station that was completely devoid of any other people. Like, I don't know how it was that this space station that was completely abandoned didn't get picked up by anybody. Like, the Cardassians weren't like, oh, look, nobody's here. Let's go back. Let's take this thing back. But,
yeah, and then there's this device that causes Cardassians to murder everybody.
I guess that's why they had to abandon it.
So Garrick was in the episode, and Garrick was basically was basically influenced by this machine, this evil machine, and he started off so it was like O'Brien, him, I think of maybe one other cast person, and then you had a whole bunch of secondary characters who were basically the victims, because you can't kill your cast, obviously. So you bring in these new characters just to be killed off. Your red shirts, there you go. So what's up, Salty? Chillporeal activated. I haven't really done a Chillporeal in a while. So Chillporeal ended up emerging or evolving into Chillporeal. So but yeah, Impact Noria, Garrick was offing people like left and right.
Yeah, he was.
I forget if there were other I haven't watched that one in a while. I forget if there were other Cardassians on the ship that were killing people too. Yeah, who knows?
I think it was really just Garrick. Wasn't there another one? I don't remember either.
There might have been other Cardassians that were hiding out or something.
But basically, it was a completely dark episode. So you're right. It was a horror. It was a kind of horror episode.
Yeah, I don't think there were that many. I don't think there were any really other horror episodes of Deep Space Nine that I could think of. Yeah. So, but just curious, what's your favorite show of the franchise? Is it the original series? Is it Deep Space Nine?
Yeah. It's original series.
Okay. Which season is your favorite?
Oh, the season. I have, according to my list, wait a minute. It's either 1 or 2. So.
Oh, it's not 3? Never. Season 3 has some of the worst episodes of all time. But better than New Trek.
I have a ton of A's in season 1 and 2 and just a few in season 3.
Okay, I want to know which ones.
My favorite episode is in season 1, so we'll go with season 1.
Okay, season 3. Let me see if I can guess what your A's are. Let me guess. Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
No.
No, it's not. Okay.
I guess.
What about the Tholian Web?
Yes, you got it.
Right.
that one's definitely one of my.
Is that the only A, or is there another A?
No, there's some more.
Okay.
The Tholian A, that's Tholian Web rather. That's a big one.
I think the other A would be the Enterprise incident with the Vulcan death grip that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I love that one because I love Spock, and I think that they do his romance really good in that one too.
I'm surprised Let That Be Your Last Battlefield is not an A. I'm surprised.
Well, let me see what I think about it. It's not an A for me. Actually, I don't like it as much.
Because it was actually one of the, in my opinion, it was one of the stronger episodes. It was one of the more memorable ones.
Oh, definitely memorable. You don't forget it. That's for sure.
What about? I can't think. I mean, I don't think really any of the other. I mean, there were other episodes I really liked. You gave it a B?
I had a B for Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
I forgot what was the I forgot what was the. I was curious if you could share the weakness of that one.
Oh, the weakness. Okay.
Was it the acting, like Lokai or something?
Well, I guess, let's see what I think here. The idea, okay, so they tried to do something powerful here, and I could see that. But because I did appreciate the fact that I didn't think about the transposition of the black and white the first time I saw it. That's where the powerful moment comes from. Because if you're a viewer watching this, you don't see the difference, and the crew doesn't see the difference until they point it out. And so that's what's good about the episode. But at some point, it just becomes, it starts to drag for me. So the bickering just keeps going on, and it takes a while for the ending to come, and then it's just like it feels like 10 minutes of running around the ship and then running around on the planet, like they're not actually on the planet, and then he transports to the planet. But I love the message of this episode, but some of it is a bit of nonsense, I think. And like at one point they say they're from the southernmost part of the galaxy. And
so really they said that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, southern.
So there's just some kind of things that Gene Kuhn and Dorothy Fontana would have cleaned up for this episode. They would have made this an 80.
Okay, that definitely would have been the case. What about? I think the only other episode that I think would possibly be an A. It's definitely not Turnabout Intruder, unless you consider Shatner's bad acting a gem. It's memorable, all right.
I haven't actually graded that one yet, so I'm going to grade that one for Tuesday. That Tuesday, I'm going to review it.
What about? I'm trying to think what would be a. What about the Empath?
I hate the Empath.
You hate the Empath, the one where the aliens, basically torture McCoy in order to get the mute. No, I thought it was interesting. I've only seen it a handful of times. I've only seen that one maybe 2 or 3 times. I was curious about that, the idea behind that one, or For the World is Hollow and I've Touched the Sky. That's the one with that's one that at the Orville actually ripped off the ship, the asteroid ship Yonada, and then you have
yes,
the priestess, and she falls in love with McCoy, and McCoy's like, you know what? McCoy's dying. McCoy finds out he has this terminal disease. It's a big word. I forget what they call it, but it's a very big word. And he decides to stay on the ship. And the ship is supposed to be colliding with the planet, so they're all going to die anyways. He's like, I might as well spend the rest of my time with them, and all that. I thought that was very powerful.
I think the way the Orville did it, they did better. But I did like that episode. I think you're hitting on a good point, though. Even if I don't give a season 3 episode an A, there's a lot of good stuff in season 3 that helps expand Star Trek in the future. And one of the biggest things I've noticed about season 3 is that TNG is heavily influenced by it for whatever reason. There are so many elements in it that carry forth, like the personality of the Klingons, the honor that you see in Day of the Dove is something that I think goes into the movies and then into the TV show.
Was there honor in Day of the Dove? I guess
a little bit. There was a little bit.
Yeah, because I remember, the Klingons and Errand of Mercy were basically tyrants,
2-dimensional.
fascists.
Yeah, they're 2-dimensional tyrants. Yes,
they were what the Cardassians. They were what the Cardassians eventually became. Like they were the Knights. Originally they were supposed to be like the 1984. Like they're always watching. Remember, like Core. I remember Core at the end of Errand of Mercy is like, we are. I forget what he says exactly, but he's like, we Klingons are very. Let's just say even someone like me is take no, and they see the camera, and then all of a sudden they're about to be attacked, and then all of a sudden everything's too hot. Anything that could be a weapon's too hot to too hot to handle. Oh, sorry. So and then and then everybody on the ships were like, oh,
good demonstration.
Yeah,
yes, that's right. Terrible. The Organians decided that they should not have. So that's the coolest thing about Day of the Dove that the Day of the Dove is my other A. Is that in Errand of Mercy, they had to have this outside source say, no, you guys can't go to war. You and the Klingons can't fight. But in Day of the Dove, the Klingons and the crew of the Enterprise have to decide together not to fight.
Yeah, and
that's
because there's this evil being. There's this evil entity on the ship that's causing everyone to be bigoted. That's what the episode's really truly about. And then it messes with Spock, it messes with Scotty. And you get some Oscar worthy performances from James Doohan. It's like, we should have left those Klingon things on the planet.
Well, it was kind of off-putting at first. It was like,
was.
oh, how are they acting like this? But then you
I mean, I was talking about like the actual acting. Like it was just like it seemed. I guess it seemed kind of forced, but it was funny. It was cheesy enough that I could forgive it because
I think it was. I think the acting was really great, and I think it was almost heartbreaking for me to see my favorite characters be so quick to violence and hatred and bigotry. But it worked for me.
Yeah, and Spock was chilling. That same scene was where Sky's like, "We should have done this," and then Spock is like trying to, touch his shoulder, and Sky's like, "Get away from me, you half breed!" And then Spock's expression just goes completely blank. He's like, I'm sick of humanity or something like that, and it gets chilling. And then Scotty tries to attack him, and Spock just grabs him, is about to do the pinch on him, and Kirk has to step in. It's like, Spock, you're half human. And then
that's right. But
Spock
later on
down.
in the episode, he realizes what he's doing, and he says that what he's done is most distasteful, and so he knows. And once they realize that it's their anger that is what's feeding this thing, they figure out how to not do that. I don't know. I really love it. We never know really what this entity is, except that it wants to have war forever. So, but
it wants everybody to be bigoted forever.
Yeah,
it's probably,
it just wants everybody to have a bad time.
I'm going to sound a little political here. I'm assuming it's a person from Earth in the 21st century who somehow becomes somehow lives beyond it, becomes basically a I don't know. I'm not going to go there.
You don't have to pick it. It's just a politician of some sort.
Yeah, someone that's just that likes to cause division. Maybe they're Hollywood. Maybe they're Hollywood. Maybe they're a current Hollywood. Maybe it's Alex Kurtzman. Maybe
yes.
Alex, or even better, Kiva Goldsman. Kiva Goldsman is the entity from Day of the Dove.
And then, because I've always made Alex Kurtzman be that guy from Skin of Evil, Armus.
Armus. That's so funny. You ever see? There was an episode. There was a scene where they prank call Armus in Lower Decks, the animated Lower Decks show.
Oh.
Yeah. I saw that. I was okay, whatever.
I can't. Yeah, well, maybe one day I'll go and see what that's about. I have such a problem with Lower Decks because sometimes they're like, "Hey, we're gonna kind of show you something where Star Trek's cool," and then they're gonna make fun of it at the same time, and then they act like they like it, and then they act like they hate it, and then it's a very schizophrenic show in terms of how it relates to.
Yeah, so it doesn't keep me. I watched the first episode, and then there was an episode where they go to Deep Space Nine. I actually enjoyed that, but then they had a B plot. Even though it's a 20-minute show, they actually had a B plot or an A plot with Mariner. Mariner's the main character, and she's just unlikable and boring and everything. So I just did not. I just did not want to. I wasn't interested in her arc. So they go to Deep Space Nine. We see not Odo. We see Quark, and we see Kira, and that was it. And then Quark had another little scheme that kind of backfired and everything. So, I mean, that was the only thing that I liked was that.
Yeah, I didn't make too far in there too, but it sounds like you heard more about it than I have.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen clips. I mean, there's a clip where they reenact the Wrath of Khan, the final segment of the Wrath of Khan, So there's a lot of member berries in that show.
Yeah, member berries. That's what it is. It's mostly member berries, and it doesn't know whether it wants to respect Star Trek or disrespect it, and it does both of them all at once. And it's basically like SNL, but I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
Christmas Trip didn't deserve having a comedy Star Trek show.
Who?
New Trek
Oh,
they don't actually, if they actually had a really great Star Trek show, I could handle having a
yeah. It's just
goofy
like, hey,
sitcom.
we want to do this, we want to do that, but then we have no idea what we're doing. So I don't know. So, but Stone Racket says, ask Jill about Elin of Troyes and Spectre of the Gun. So Elin of Troyes, that's the one with the Troyans. Like you have the blue Troyan ambassador played by the guy that was Caligula in the Robe and Demetrius in the Gladiators, Jay Robinson, and he's trying to. It's like a Pygmalion type of story. You have the Elin, the from the House of Elos, and she's supposed to be marrying the Trojan prince, and she's just she's a wild thing basically. And there's Klingons in that show, and there's agents of the Klingons, and yeah, there's like a little. I think there's a little ship battle. I think it's the first time we see a Klingon ship in production order. But what's funny was we see the Klingon ship for the first time in that episode, but that episode didn't air until after Enterprise Incident. So Enterprise Incident airs first, and we see the Klingon ships, but the Klingon ships were actually Romulan ships. Why was it like a budget thing? Did they just like they decided, okay, well, we have the Klingon ship, let's just use that. Let's make up a reason to use that. Is that because I haven't read up on the history of that episode, and you and I read the same.
Yes.
We read the same source for the same.
Right, the
was it Cushman? Cushman.
Mark
Cushman.
Cushman. These are the voyages.
Yes.
And I don't recall the details of that, but this episode, it's kind of middle of the road for me. They almost made it Helen of Troy, so they almost put it on the nose. But she brings peace instead of war. So
I just remember I just remember her tears are actually like a love potion and everything. And so anybody that touches the tears, falls instantly in love. So Kirk falls instantly in love, and that's kind of complicating That's kind of complicating things right there. And then they're like, "Is there an antidote for this?" And they're like, "No, he's gonna have to get over it or something." So, was this an A? Was this an A for you?
No, this was a C for me. I didn't really like it that much.
Okay. What about Spectre of the Gun? Spectre of the Gun.
I like Spectre of the Gun a lot better.
Okay. Spectre of the Gun was an interesting one. It's the one. And I always think about this, like being like like something kills Chekhov. They shoot Chekhov. So they come across this floating alien, slimy looking alien head, which it's actually an incorporeal life form that has the ability to transport our heroes, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, and Chekhov, to a play. Mm-hmm. And the play is basically a semi-complete set of a Western, basically. Mm. And what we find out is that they're basically reliving the gunfight at the OK Corral. Before Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner made it famous in the 90s with Wyatt Earp and Tombstone. But our heroes in that episode are not the Earps. The Earps are the bad guys. The Earps are the bad guys in this one. They're the Clanton gang. Kirk is Ike Clanton, and Chekhov was one that survived, but yet he gets killed anyway. So there's like, okay, something's off here. And then Spock manages to figure it out. He just figures it out on his own.
Well, that's kind of why I like it, is because Chekhov gets to do more in it, and it's probably one of his better episodes in terms of being able to do a little more acting than normal.
Yeah, Chekhov gets shot by Morgan Earp. He gets shot by Morgan Earp because Morgan Earp was a jerk to his girlfriend or wife or something. I thought he was married in real life, but You know what's funny
if
is
you
that
compare it to real life, I'm sure this has lots of problems.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what's funny is that actor that plays Morgan Earp in that episode was the bald guy that was the bald guy in Star Trek Five, the desert dweller that Cybok, you know, that
Oh, at
Cybok
the beginning of the
initially,
movie?
yeah, yeah, that's the opening scene in Star Trek Five. Him and Lawrence Luckinbill have a scene together. And
Yes. Yeah, in the desert.
so he's the actor was the first disciple of Cybok, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
But
would know this. All
I
that
like
trivia was on. You know how I knew all this trivia? It was on the back of the VHS boxes.
Hey, that's pretty well, you have some good memory there. Do you have, like, photographic kind of memory? I
No,
wish I had a
no,
crazy
I
memory like
forget
that.
stuff really easily. So,
Oh.
but I
Well,
was
for some
super.
reason, you remember more than I do. I have to take notes.
Yeah, I mean, I must have watched. Must have watched the original, like certain episodes of the original series. I must have seen like at least 100 times, 50 to 100 times over the years. So, but there were some episodes I've seen less, like the episodes I never owned on VHS or never rented. I didn't finally see until I bought the DVDs, the seasons. That took me a while. I used to collect the VHSs for like from 96 all the way to 2004. And then 2004 was when
Oh.
they released the seasons, like the whole seasons. So I
Mhm.
finally saw the whole series after trying to collect the entire series for like
Wow, like,
8 years.
do you still have these VHS tapes, and do you
I
have them, like,
don't. I
on
got rid of
memory?
them.
Oh,
I got
okay.
rid of them.
Because that's a lot.
I got rid of the DVDs. I even got rid of the Blu-rays.
My goodness.
My last Blu-rays that I had, I actually did a giveaway for Star Trek Day last
Why
year
why?
because I wanted other people to have it. I already have I already have copy. I have digital copies of I have the entire
Oh,
original
I know,
series
but
digitally.
I like to have it. I have it digitally too, but I like to have the physical media. But that's very generous of you that you gave it away.
Yeah,
I was thinking I should do a giveaway at
I'll
some point.
replace it. I
I
always
have
want to have Star Trek in my collection in some way, whether it's original, whether it's on in my hard drive or on my shelf. So,
well, maybe
um,
I should think of something to give away because I have 1,000 subscriber stream next Friday.
oh
Thank
yeah,
you for giving me that idea.
by the way, congratulations with that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, and well, it came out of nowhere. The algorithm just decided, hey, promote this channel for some reason, and it happened.
Yeah, I think you deserve it. You have yeah, I love the whenever I can make it. I love your original series.
Oh,
Episode
and I'm gonna
discussions.
miss doing those, but I'm gonna
Are
move
you gonna
on.
continue into TNG or something or?
No, what I'm gonna do is we'll do random episodes from other Star Treks on Fridays. And because my Tuesday show was never meant to be just Star Trek, I started it with Orville
Mhm.
and then TOS, and then I'm gonna go to we're gonna hang on to Star Trek a little while longer. We're gonna do continues the fan series, so that's actually how we're gonna finish it. But after that, I'm going to do For All Mankind because I want to switch between old and new and
Mhm.
have new stuff in my repertoire and old stuff. So we're gonna do For All Mankind by Ronald D. Moore,
Yeah,
and then
that's not.
after that, yeah,
Yeah,
on
that
Apple.
one is on my list. I saw the first episode of it. I actually liked what I saw. I heard the
Mhm.
show kind of loses. It doesn't. The quality doesn't stay consistent. I hear it gets not doesn't get really good after season two.
It doesn't. Oh well, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Well, no, I'm not
I
trying. I'm
don't
not
want to
trying
have
to discourage
that.
you. This is
Yeah.
just this is something. This is just something I heard. So might
Okay.
totally be wrong.
Well, you could be totally right, and I might be disappointed, but I think even if it's mediocre, that's still better than a lot of new stuff because I want to have a mixed bag of new and old things that I dip into.
I was going to ask you. That's another thing I wanted to bring up. New stuff. Like, have you? Like, I was curious if you've been watching any current shows or if there's any current science fiction. Because I know not right now it's like a dime a dozen science fiction, and a lot of it's, my opinion, is crap.
Right. Well, something just came out recently. I really want to watch it.
What?
I guess it's sort of science fiction. Fallout. Fallout is a
Fallout's very. I already saw the first 2 episodes. It's got its problems. I mean, I like the look of it. There are things I can be forgiving of it, especially like there's some cringe dialogue, but you have to remember like this is an RPG, and there's NPCs with cheesy things to tell that just randomly tells you stuff. So I'm forgiving of that, but there are points where like things are so ridiculously unbelievable. Like there's a point where they're really close to a Gatling gun. The guy gets shot. They're shooting at the guy, and they miss him completely, even though he's right there, and they're trying to aim at him. I'm like, what the hell is this? So,
and
well,
there's some maybe they didn't get their bats right. They didn't line it up right.
Maybe they're like the stormtroopers or something. But yeah, there's some interest. There's some. I think there's some good in it, but there's a lot of cringe. There's some cringe stuff in there that might make you think of Star Trek Discovery, especially season 3.
Really that bad? I have not.
It's not. I don't think it's that bad, but there's
well, I did watch the first couple episodes of STD season 5, and it's worse than ever. They didn't get better. They didn't improve. They speak in sentence fragments, and so I hope at least the writing is better than that.
That's what I hope too. So, but yes, Fallout.
Yeah, give it a try. I haven't seen it yet.
Give it a try. I watched 2 episodes. I mean, I'm curious how the rest of the show is. Mm-hmm. I really did enjoy the games. I don't know if you said you played the games. Any of the games?
Well, yes, that's why I'm interested in it. I've only played Fallout 4, but that's enough for me to really be into it in terms of enjoying the story and the structure of how things go.
Okay. So, I played 3 in New Vegas, and New Vegas is the one that has like a big bulk of the lore and all that. So.
I do have a gaming segment on my channel. Sometimes I do, and I want to play the very first Fallout because I play a lot of retro games.
Okay, I see.
So I might end up doing that someday.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun streaming. I just haven't had time myself lately to do video game streaming and all that. So, plus I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older. I'm not as interested in playing new games, or I have to really push. If I just want to go down memory lane, I'll play a retro game. So
right, exactly.
I'll play something on Super Nintendo.
That's what I've been doing. I was the last thing I was doing was Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right. So For All Mankind.
Yeah. After For All Mankind, I'm going to go back. So it's a new show, so I'm gonna go back to an old show. I'm going to cover the Twilight Zone, which is going to take a while.
Okay, it's Twilight Zone. Rod Serling. You know I've seen a handful of episodes. There's a lot of very interesting concepts. I don't know if they've reused them from other stuff, but I swear Star Trek has kind of borrowed some ideas. Like
for sure.
Like the Charlie X episode, I swear was borrowed from a Twilight Zone episode, because it was the one with the kid who can do anything, and all the adults are afraid of the kid. Yeah. Yeah,
that's right. Charlie X. That's one of my A episodes. I love that so much.
Really, that's an exception, because Charlie X is generally, people don't like Charlie X for some reason.
What?
I like Charlie X.
People don't like Charlie X. This is news to me.
I guess people find Charlie annoying. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Well, okay, so I don't know. I've been through Wesley Crusher. He's better than him.
Way better than way better. Yeah, because at least Charlie is menacing and bad, and it keeps like him making everybody disappear and doing bad things. The crew's just like, what's going to happen next? Like he passes the woman that Yeoman Rand tries to set him up with, because he has a crush on her, even though she's like twice his age, and she introduces him to a younger yeoman. I think she's a yeoman or a cadet or something.
Yes, that makes more sense. Right, someone closer to his age.
Yeah, and I like how he completely ignores her.
She's just a girl.
She's just a girl. You're more than a girl. And he says, he creepily says, you smell like a girl. And then he does the spank. He does the spank earlier, and then she's just like, what the dude, Charlie, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, go.
And
She's like,
Captain
go
Kirk
tell.
has to say that there's no right way to hit a woman.
There's no right way to hit a woman. And then Kirk's like, I don't want to do this. He's like, he just doesn't want. He doesn't want to deal with him.
Yeah, but
he tells
Kirk is the only one
McCoy,
that
you do
Charlie
it.
respects.
He's like, McCoy, you do it. And McCoy's like, well, he needs the strong father figure. That's you, Jim.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that episode was ridiculous. Like he, like there's a point
he's a
where
very lonely kid, and he's
never been disciplined. So,
right.
So yeah, so he's been doing it. Like I didn't realize it, but like the reason why her loses her voice was because of Charlie. Because she embarrasses him. She comes up with a verse about him.
Well, and he also shuts up that other lady by just getting rid of her face.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is this? You're like, like that. I was like, I was thinking RoboCop, for instance. You know what I'm talking about?
I've seen RoboCop.
Remember the end of the movie where he gets the one dude gets hit by all the waste? He's like, ooh, like that.
Oh, okay.
She was making a similar sound, even though she didn't have a face. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm like, whoa, this is creepy.
That was scary. Well, you were talking earlier about Star Trek having a lot of humor, not humor, horror elements in it.
Yeah, and then you're like, no, yeah, because like he walks by a room and they're laughing. He's like, no laughing, and then everybody freezes, like the silhouettes freeze, and then the woman comes out without the face and everything. So it's wild. And then he turns the girl that Yeoman Rand introduces him to into like a dog or something. It turns her into a dog or something. So yeah. Then they try to put him in the. I remember like it got pretty dark pretty quickly. Like he just walks into a room and she's just like, get the hell. It should be like, get the F out of here, dude. Get the F out of here. You don't enter a room without knocking. He brings like the rose, and then she turns on the intercom so that Kirk and Spock are aware, and then they come in, and then Charlie like breaks their legs or something and holds them hostage, and it gets so ridiculous. It gets so wild, and then it comes to a point where Kirk has to be the father. He has to be that mean. It has to not mean, but has to be that strong father figure and just discipline him. He's like, I need you. I need you to do this. I need you to release Spock. He's like, why should I release Spock? Because I need him to run the ship. You need me to run the ship, and I need him, basically. So, yeah. And then they try to lure him into lure him into the brig, and he just makes the entire wall disappear.
Oh yeah.
So they were out of options until the Thasians came and took him away.
Right, and that's how it ends, where he has to go back to being lonely because he can't handle being with other beings.
So that was an A. Interesting.
Yeah, it was a sad ending, but it was an A for me, definitely.
I'm sure Balance of Terror was like a C, right? Says no one ever.
I've actually not met anybody. That is the thing. You can find people who don't like Charlie X and people who love it and all the different things, but I haven't yet found one person who doesn't like Balance of Terror. So that one's pretty universally loved.
Did you know that they tried to make a What If episode that takes place during Balance of Terror and Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, that's how they end the season, and so it's like a different reality. But the whole thing is a different reality. All of New Trek is a different reality. Every single
pretty much, yeah,
is a different reality.
Yes, yeah. That Strange New Worlds episode, basically, they fail to contain the situation, and the fleet that the war that they were warning about, that Spock and Mr. Styles were warning about, actually happens. And then you find out that during the time of the Wrath of Khan, that they're still fighting that Romulan war, basically. So yeah, so you see Anson Mount Pike wearing the red Starfleet outfit from the movies era. So yeah, I think that was the one thing that was interesting, like trying to recreate the performances of Mark Leonard don't do it. Don't
You can't. No, you're gonna fail.
try it.
But also, it was kind of dumb because they use these garbage tanks, these garbage ships, to try to make them as decoys. But it's stupid because the Romulans can scan them and see that they're not warships.
Yeah.
So that they're I don't know. I try to push that kind of thing out of my memory, so I can't really remember too much about it. You emailed it.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I mean, I think basically, have you seen any good Star Trek documentaries?
Oh, documentaries. Well, I've seen a bunch of them, but I don't remember names of them. But they're.
I think the
I'll
one
eat
I'm
them
gonna
up.
I think the one I'm going to watch next is the Chaos on the Bridge that Mr.
Oh
Shatner
yeah.
made about the early production of Next Generation. I'm probably going to watch that. I've seen For the Love of
I've seen that one.
Have
That's
you
good.
seen Adam
Chaos on the
Nimoy?
Bridge. I think that one's a lot about TNG for some reason.
Yeah, it was about there was a lot like Roddenberry and his lawyer were just like.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. And so this was the point where Gene was nearing the end of his life and he was having some trouble and he was trying to get some help, but he picked the wrong person to help him.
Yeah, so I've seen that. Have you ever seen The Captains? That's another thing that William Shatner did.
Yeah,
And,
I watched all of them. I just don't remember a ton.
Well, the like Avery Brooks, for instance, is just kind of he's out there.
Oh, he's a jazz musician.
Yeah, he's literally out there, and while Shatner's trying to talk to him, asking him questions, he's just playing the piano. He's just playing the piano. He looks like he's high as a kite.
Well, and then you ask him, well, how come you don't come to conventions anymore? And he's just like, well, I did go to conventions, but I didn't like the way that they treated the fans like cattle.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think he's absolutely right, and he's made some statements that I've more or less agreed with. So, so you had him. He was out there. Picard was just hanging out at his his house or something with his son. His son joined the interview. Kate Mulgrew was just like, she did not enjoy the experience whatsoever. Like her kids don't talk to her or something. Her kids never watched the show. She was barely there to take care of them and stuff. So she just did it because she had to or something. So, and it was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting hearing her describe a workday or something. She they were the actors had to be there for 12 to 14 hours every day. And yeah, so she's like, oh, they stand around for all day and all that. And so the way she made it sound like it was a terrible experience. I'm sure it was. It's Hollywood.
When I've heard her talk about it, she said that she's tired a lot, and so I guess that makes sense why they had her love coffee, because maybe that's exactly what she had to drink a ton of on the bridge.
Yes, that's probably what it was too. I was surprised she didn't show. I'm going to bring up Picard again. I was surprised that they didn't. I thought they were gonna at least have her make an appearance at the very end.
It doesn't surprise me because it's my theory that it's all about the movies for Terry, and the shows he's just interjecting them because he has to, but he doesn't really understand them.
Yeah, that's probably the case. So, yeah, and then I think he actually did talk to Chris Pine and Scott Bakula. I forgot what they exactly said, but
oh yeah, I remember
the Deep Space Nine. The Avery Brooks segment was the most memorable. Memorable.
I remember that too. I want a CD of Avery Brooks's piano jazz.
Yeah,
does it exist?
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does somewhere. So, I was just curious if there were any other good documentaries to check out. I'll have to look for some.
Yeah, there are a ton of them. I just wish I could remember the names for you. There was one that I've been wanting to watch recently that was about William Shatner, but I forget the name of it. I'm sorry. But have you seen the Deep Space Nine one? That's the What We Left Behind.
Yeah, What You Leave Behind. Yeah, that was the one that incorporated certain elements of modern day that I don't really want to talk about Like they really pushed the
Yeah,
idea
but
that Garrick was a certain orientation. I'm like, okay,
well,
sure. I mean,
well, but the writers didn't do that. Garrick, or not Garrick, but Andy Robbins said that's how he played it. So, but that's not how he was written, and so I think that kind of worked.
like I
The
think
way
like there was
it.
a point where like he has his hands on in the his first appearance in what was it called, Past Prologue, that was Deep Space season 1 episode 3. That was his first appearance. I think there's a point where he has his hands on on Bashir's
Bashir.
shoulders or something like that, and everybody like uses that screenshot to say, hey, he was this, he was, he was gay and everything. I was just like,
Well, no, he wasn't. Garrick
wasn't was
isn't
wasn't
gay.
wasn't he? I mean, I know he had that relationship with
Yeah,
Zial and
with
with
Yale, yeah,
Ducat's daughter in season 4 and 5, but wasn't it just like, wasn't it seemed, I thought it came across more as platonic or something.
yeah, it was platonic. Well, that's how it's written. It's written platonic, but Andy Robinson says he played him as if he was gay, but the writing was straight, and so Garrick
Okay.
is straight, and yeah, the performance interjected that emotion, and I think it actually worked really well in terms of their friendship. I enjoyed the Garrick and Bashir friendship.
Yeah, that was
Especially in the-
I love the Garrick and Bashir. I like Garrick might be my favorite character in Deep Space Nine. Like
Oh yeah, he's
just
absolutely my favorite character. Deep
like
Space
he's
Nine,
just
because
like
he's a
you're like, what's he gonna do
representation.
next? He's totally unpredictable. You don't know what you're like. What is he getting at? What is he trying? What is he actually saying? And all that. And then I mean, I like the Bashir, him and Bashir. But yeah, the whole thing with Zial just broke my heart when
Yeah,
we find out what happens to her in season 6 and all that, and it was it was probably in the biggest episode of that series. Well,
it was the crossroads episode because it turns Skull Dukat from a tyrant to a
insane.
batshit crazy man.
Yeah, and then he just wants to, yeah, that's where the whole thing with him and the prophets comes in, and he just wants to, I don't know, burn everything or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Destroy
right
the
now.
Bajorans. I don't know.
Now he's decided, yeah, the Paw race are going to be on his side, and he's going to form a new religion, and he's going to gather disciples. And oh my God,
Maybe he wanted to destroy the
I get
Dominion
funky.
too. Maybe use the Paw race to destroy the Dominion as well. I don't know.
I have no clue what he was thinking.
So, yeah. So, I mean, we already talked about pretty much everything I wanted to cover. So, is there any final thoughts you want to? Anything else you want to say?
Well, not a whole lot. Just that I'm just so happy to have been here, and this was a lot of fun going through all of these episodes. I think we bounced between all the different franchises really well, so I had a lot of fun. And how
I appreciate being here. I know you generally do your stuff during the day, so doing this at night, I know you got family and stuff.
Oh yeah, you can hear them, can't you? They're having a little bit of fun.
Yeah,
so
I'm really grateful that you were able to to join me and make this a thing. So this is pretty cool. Thanks for doing this. I really enjoy your content. If you haven't subscribed to Antiderivative Jill, definitely subscribe to her. Definitely check out her channel. Check out her streams, her video content. Is there anything you want to plug?
Yes, on Tuesday I'm going to review Star Trek: The Original Series. I'm going to check out the Turnabout Intruder, but it's going to be a 4-hour show. I'm going to start at 10 a.m. Central because we're going to review the episode, but then we're going to talk about season 3 as a whole, and maybe the series as a whole a bit. And then the following week, the following Tuesday will be my top 10 TOS episodes with my panel, and that'll be good. But it won't be the last time I'll talk about TOS. I'll do stuff on Fridays and things because I'm gonna miss it, and there's no reason why I can't talk about it some more.
Absolutely.
And this Friday, I'm gonna have a review of Tank Girl, and so that's gonna with Scotty R37 and Retro Nerd Girl.
Oh,
and Tiger
okay.
Stripes.
Nice. Okay, cool. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for once again, thank you for doing this. Me, I have
I didn't mention one of my favorite episodes.
I hear a triple right there.
This used to be my favorite episode of TOS. It's not my favorite anymore, but it's one of them.
No, and everybody, I'm not a Klingon. I'm not a Klingon. It's not the triple wasn't barking at me. The triple would love me. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm still working on my 2001 video. Still have been very slow with that one, so that's one thing. Chillporeal is going to be next Thursday. The guest will be announced in the outro, and I think I'm doing Wheel of Time Book Club is going to be coming back. I'm going to see if I can do it a week from Sunday. I'm gonna try and figure that out. I do want to do some movie related streams again, and maybe even try doing a solo stream, Poreal cast or whatever. I'm thinking of calling it Poreal cast or something. So, but yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. And yeah, once again, Antiderivative Jill, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being part of an integral part of this Star Trek appreciation, the Star Trek fandom, if you want to even call it that. So
yeah, it's my pleasure. All I want to do is see good Star Trek, and so hopefully Secret Hideout gets the heck out of the game, and we'll be looking a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, just if I were them, I would just make a new show, create a new era, get rid of the 32nd, 33rd century, or whatever. Do what the Orville did, or set in the mid to late 25th century. Have another ship, start it like the Enterprise. Have it like Enterprise D or something, or the Enterprise J, and have them go to a different part of the galaxy, meet new aliens and new threats, and yeah, and then build and then world build this new era like TNG built its era and original.
That's absolutely right. That's the way to do it. But does anybody actually know Star Trek enough to do it? And so that's the question. And
No, they hire the wrong people, and it's a trend now. It's
right. But the right people are out there, and very often,
yeah, and they're ignored.
But not by the Orville. The Orville hires them. They got Andrea Bormanis, David A. Goodman, and
Brandon Braga,
a few others.
I think even what's his name? I forgot his name. The visual.
Doug Drexler.
Doug Drexler. Yeah, he was part of season 3. He was part of Orville New Horizons. He did some of the work for that. So
yeah, he did. Nice.
So yeah. But so, yeah, this is not a hard thing, CBS. I know you're not watching, but this is not a hard solution to bring back fans. But you pissed off enough fans that they're likely not going to take you at your word. So that's on you.
Right on.
So, all right. But Jill, thank you so much. Maybe next time we do this. Oh, by the way, everything has to have a sequel now. So I'm curious, are you my father's, brother's, mother's, cousin's former roommate? You know what that makes us? Nothing. So, well, I was thinking maybe next stream talk more. Maybe we'll talk more TNG. Maybe you could share some of your rankings of the original series that you're going to do.
Okay. And, yeah. I'll give you my rankings next time. Definitely.
And since you're Antiderivative, Jill, one thing I forgot to talk about, we should talk about some math. You know, some calculus, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely.
If you want to be, if that ain't nerdy, I don't know what is.
That would be. We'll see what we can do about that. I got a new drawing tablet. I need to start using it. So we'll see.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here, everybody. Stay safe, stay Chillporeal, and everybody subscribe to Antiderivative Jill. And until next time, take care, and let's see who's going to be on the next episode of Chillporeal.